The 6 biggest Commander storylines.
It is caught!
Delivered at 6 o'clock sharp. It's the Pick 6 at 6.
We set out to find a leader, someone who could take this franchise to the next level and build an elite team that consistently competes for championships.
Yeah, you did. And that guy is Dan Quinn, who had to address what felt like a little bit of an old school issue today. It's the nature of the NFL. It's a lot of dudes, a lot of players, and that occasionally means some of them are in hot water of some kind. Brandon McManus released earlier this week. This is the first time that we have seen Quinn since, so he was asked about making the change at kicker.
Yeah, and I think, number one, I think you guys would all understand this is under investigation, so I can't comment a lot. But what I can say is a little bit about what I told the team. And I think, like most things, not necessarily related to this, but as a lesson, let's make sure you always, let somebody know and tell. There's usually a whole bunch of people that want to be part of the solution. And so when you have that, whether that's for this team or any team or a parent, that kind of communication allows you to, come up with some solutions. So, like I said, not, specific to this, but it was just a good lesson, to always have that conversation. It's usually much more difficult in your head than it is really having the actual conversation. And so just wanted to make sure I got a lesson out to the guys as we're going through it. So we did release, Brandon and I found out some of the information on May 27th, and then we released him on June the 3rd.
So there you go. It took 6 days to do it, but ultimately that's not that much time once you're told. But I think the bigger takeaway for me, Anthony, if we want to officially make this number one, fancy button, please. You
Number one.
You told me you had the numbers.
The numbers usually go before. I had exited out, so I had to pull it back up.
You know what? That's fair. Mark it up again is another time that I have failed you on the show. I feel like I've done that too much in the last 2 days. I might have to bring back the fine board for myself. That or I'll just buy you lunch. Okay. The bigger takeaway, though, for me in terms of what Quinn says there is the idea that they didn't know this was coming. And whether it was mentioned as soon as they knew that they thought the lawsuit was coming, or really that these allegations have been out there, like not publicly, but that McManus knew that there was a potential lawsuit coming, they should have told them up front. And if the Commanders have made the decision to sign him anyway, like that's on them, and that's a different conversation. But ultimately, I think what Quinn is saying is to the rest of the team is, guys, if something happens, tell us. Because we can't, depending on what it is, we may be able to help you. We may not be able to help you. That's not a guarantee that we're going to keep you or cut you. But you got to give us the information to give us the best chance so that if whatever happens is a kind of situation where we can help you or we can do something to keep your spot on the roster. Because say that the second McManus finds out there's a lawsuit coming, he tells Quinn and Peters and whatever. Do the Commanders preemptively come out and basically, or at least be ready and say, this is under investigation. Brandon told us this might be coming. We're going to keep him on the roster for now, pending the outcome of the investigation. He's going to be away from the team. We're going to sign another kicker, and you move on. You move somebody else, and if by training camp it's still ongoing, maybe at that point you cut bait. But it's the middle of June right now, so let's see what happens. Maybe, but McManus never gave him that chance, and they want to make sure that they have the best chance to make the best decision possible for the football team. And when you can't trust a guy to let you know what's going on, that's not possible. So I appreciate that message from Quinn, even if I don't know that it ultimately would have changed the outcome in this particular case, considering this seems to be headed to some sort of trial. All right, number 2, Anthony. Play the number before we do the bite.
Number 2.
All right, number 2 is about the guys that are still around and the culture that is being developed. Of course, Tyler Biadasz, no stranger to Dan Quinn, even if Quinn was coaching the other side of the ball when they were both in Dallas. But here is the new Commanders center.
It's building this like a winning culture and doing things the right way and building our identity. I mean, we have a great opportunity to rebuild this culture here, and it's a fresh start in all areas and all aspects of our game here with the Commanders. I think it's coming from even ownership to the new GM, coaching staff, players coming from different other ball teams. So, I mean, it's one of those things where you truly feel grateful for this great opportunity to build it the way you want it. And I think everyone has the same mindset of building your winning culture and also just building that chemistry. And this is such a crucial time of these next, practices coming up and next week with the mandatory minicamp to really do that. And we just started really going 11 on 11. So, building that chemistry with one another and being all out there and, working with, different personnel groups and, different teammates beside you, and, like for my position, for example. But it's been great. Honestly, it's been a lot of fun.
I think there's something really fun about building something because there's no real, like, you don't have to tear anything down. You don't have to, you're not trying to change something. It's just like, there's a blank slate ahead of us. Let's build this thing. And I think in a team setting, there is an ability to pour into each other that is not necessarily there if you're adding on to something that already exists or trying to change something that already exists, because there's a natural curiosity and inquisitiveness that comes with a blank slate. You're just trying to get to know someone and you're asking about their life. You're getting to know them. Everything is new. And so you build it and you take the things that you really like and you pour into those. And, if you don't get along with someone, that's a totally different story. But like from a football standpoint, if there's something you don't like there's still kind of this newness that allows for that conversation. No one's stuck in their ways. Everyone's open-minded. And I think that's the thing that is great when he talks about ownership on down. The only pressure that there is from ownership, from GM, from coaches is to be the best version of yourself, to try to find out what that is within the context and football tactics of this team. And I can imagine that's really exciting and refreshing. Now, when you get in the middle of the season, you actually got to play games and there's a scoreboard. If you don't have some of that stuff figured out and you're getting your ass kicked because you're actually not that good, that newness becomes not quite as fun real fast. But I do think this part of the year is very exciting and very fun because everything is new. It's all learning. It's all teaching. Everyone feels like they're in the same boat and everyone's kind of coming at this because there's no one that has standing, right? Terry and John and the guys that were here, well, the coaching staff is new. The guys that are on the coaching staff that are trying to set the culture, well, the building is new. A lot of the players are new to the coaches and the building. So I think the fact that everything's new to everybody is kind of what's exciting about what the Commanders have going in this time of year. We'll see if they can build it up fast enough to be competitive in the fall. Number three. It's our pick 6 at 6. 6 o'clock, 6 biggest storylines here on the Hoffman Show. Number 3 is the details. All this big kumbaya stuff is great, but eventually you got to put some time on the clock, a score, and hopefully the score is tilted in your favor, and you have to keep it that way as that clock winds. Situational football, very important. It's why Dan Quinn wanted to make sure to work on it, even though it's just June.
Yeah, we're trying to work the situation side of the game as much as we can, and knowing that about 70% of our league, the games are 8 points or less. And so it kind of speaks to the importance of what can happen at the end of the half or the end of the game. And so much of that can tie in, to special teams and how you're working that part of things. So all 3 phases working together. And so we're really trying to dig in on those. We're getting a lot of reps inside and some jog throughs, on the system offensively and defensively. But being outside and the timing elements of situations, those are harder to walk through. Because these 7 seconds have to be done and executed at a really high pace. So we've been really pleased with the work that the guys have been putting into that spot.
And today they did a situational drill where it was 28 seconds on the clock. You have 4 downs to score a touchdown. No, I guess technically you could have gotten a first down. But from a timing standpoint, you really only got about 4 plays, and you got no timeouts, and it's a touchdown to win. So you're down 20. I think the score they put up on the scoreboard was 20-14. Might have been 26-20, whatever it was. Need a touchdown to win. 28 seconds. How do you do? And the first group got 4 plays off. The first group was actually the 2s. Jaden Daniels at quarterback and second string O-line and skill position players. And the series ended with a dropped interception in the end zone on a jump ball situation. So it wasn't like Jaden made a bad read. necessarily. I'd have to go back and be able to have the tape to be like, oh, yeah, that was definitely the right throw to make. But he picked a matchup. He threw a jump ball. Receiver fell down. Nick Whiteside dropped the pick. The rest of the defenders yelled at him because he dropped the pick. And the coaches were like, good job. At least you won the game. So it kind of tells you the mentality that the players have right now and how much they're really geared towards trying to create turnovers. The second group only got off 3 plays because got a tackle in bounds on 3rd down as they tried to rush to the line for 4th down. I guess technically they got a play off. I actually don't even think they got it off, but the call on the field was a false start because the team wasn't set. So Marcus Mariota and company were not able to get in the end zone. It's a tough situation. Down, touchdown, 28 seconds, no timeouts. That is a brutal, brutal drill for the offense. And in some ways, I give credit to Jaden Daniels for how he executed it because they at least got 4 plays off. And on 3rd down, that included a throw through the uprights because he just needed to throw one away and stop wasting time and not risk a sack, not risk anything. And so the situational awareness, you pass the process test, you got to ultimately finish the execution. Obviously, with Mariota, he on 3rd down throws a ball out to the flat, and I don't know whether he anticipates Austin Eckler getting out of bounds, whether it was on the far side of the field, so it's hard to say whether that was a bad decision by Eckler or by Mariota. Should Eckler have been able to get out, whatever it is, but tackled in bounds, and ultimately the clock runs out without ever getting to take a shot at the end zone, which you could also reframe as good job defense, which brings us to
number 4.
And Joe Whitt Jr., the very passionate defensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders, spoke today after practice. And I thought, he was very reticent, as he should be, to give away any kind of detail. I think he's probably overly reticent to give away, like, literally anything. But, okay, fine. In his words, other people are listening. Sure, fine. Okay. What they are building here is not Dan Quinn's defense, not Joe Whitt's defense. It's something that will fit what they have. It will be the 2024 Commanders defense.
No, it's fun. This is the players' games, okay? And you're going to hear me talking about feed the studs, and we're going to design our defense. We're designing our defense around the players that we have. I think if you're just limited to saying, hey, we run one scheme and that's all we have, and no, you have the players that you have, all right, and you make sure that you are putting them in the best position to play high level football. And we have really good players. And I'm excited every day to come in here and figure out what's the best way to use them. And one thing I want to say as well, we don't have 11 starters, okay? You're going to put this down, so don't ask me who's starting here. We have 17 to 18 guys. We're going to go out there. We're going to roll a deep crew and to go out there and whip people, okay? So we don't have 11 guys. We have many personnel groups, and now can they own those positions when we put them in there? So when that comes, don't ask me about who's starting, please.
Okay, Joe. All right. That dude is something. Firecracker. The intensity he has, just perfect for a defensive coordinator. I think, generally speaking, though, and we actually talked about this off the top of the show today, when he says, I got 17, 18 starters, basically, you see it. The way they line up, the different sub-packages. Let me see if I can name, 17 guys real quick to see if we can figure out who... Not that we're Joe. Don't come after us. I don't want him coming after us. We're not trying to figure out who your starters are. I mean, we kind of are, but guys that I think are in the mix based off what we see right now. Allen Payne, Armstrong, Furl. Anybody else on the D line? I mean, Fowler, I'd assume, is in there.
Newton.
Oh yeah, but he's not doing anything.
He's not
right
healthy
now
just yet, but
yeah, but I still think he's clearly on line 2. I'm not even counting. I feel like most of these guys are going to be in the secondary. So let's say there's 5 or 6 defensive linemen, but those edges are going to rotate a lot. But probably Newton will wind up playing 50+% snaps. Then you've got obviously Wagner. You got Luvu, and then are the rest of the guys that can be considered starters in a sub package defensive backs, because you've got certainly Forbes, BSJ, or one of those might wind up being Michael Davis. But then you've got Quan, Chin, Butler, Dominique Hampton. all those dudes, Sainer still, all those dudes played with the ones today. Today. They're just rotate. They have so many different packages of how they can line it up. So, yeah, it's going to be really, really fun. And it also is going to make talking about it, like, it's going to to Joe Whitt's point, it's going to make our job of, like, who are the starters as we get through training camp, which is typically part of the conversation, difficult. But at the same time, we also are going to see a team that is more prepared for multiple situations that an offense, or multiple different personnel groupings, etc., challenges that an offense throws at them, because they're going to have a bunch of dudes that they trust to be the answer depending on what personnel grouping they need. So that's cool. Big story of the weekend was Emmanuel Forbes, that photo that went viral of his very skinny legs. So I asked Dan Quinn about the build on Emmanuel and how that fits with what they look for in a corner, and if it's actually an issue.
First part is really, the ball skills. And at that spot, to be able to turn the ball over as a defense, that's something that you really want. And that's, I would say, his superpower, and the thing that he was so strong at. And so from there, you look for length. And so it doesn't always necessarily mean the size to it. And he's bigger than he was, for sure. He's worked hard on that this offseason to see that weight going up. But the length and the ball skills at that position, outside on that freeway, there's some real athletes. And you're just seeing more of this happen. You see some of the big numbers at contracts at receiver and corners. And so that position alone, man, it really calls for athleticism, the ball skills, and having that length to be able to defend some of the bigger players.
And that's the thing. We talked about this on Take Command this week. Like, Forbes has size. It's just length and height. He doesn't have a thickness to him that might be a problem in terms of getting pushed around and the physicality, but if he can learn to play with great technique and great anticipation and maybe get a little bit stronger, whether he grows or not, that could be enough. So that's, I think, something that's going to be fun to watch when they get in the pads in the fall. As for right now, they're out there running around with no pads, and he was perfectly fine doing his job today. Last but not least, Jaden Daniels not going to be wearing pads this weekend. No, he'll be wearing a baseball mitt, or he won't. He'll just throw a baseball without one. He's throwing out the first pitch of the Nationals game, and Dan Quinn was asked about that. Pretty funny way to end today's press conference.
We had a big discussion about that just yesterday, so all eyes are on that first pitch. And I asked if there was going to be some practice involved going out there. Oh, no doubt about it. So, yeah, we're expecting him to rip a strike on that one.
Hey, dude, you're the starting quarterback. Anthony, have you ever thrown out a first pitch?
I've never thrown out a first pitch, but I've pitched before in a game.
Okay, same. I pitched in, like, Little League and everything, but what do we got to do for the Hoffman Show? If there's anybody listening within our listening area, which means that Anthony and I could drive there, that would like us to throw out a first pitch, find HoffmanShow.com. We can double barrel it. We can both throw first pitches. Although I think both of us would want to throw from the mound. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
What? Now I want to throw out a first pitch now.
Oh, you're very curious.
Yeah, I want to. Who do we think is most likely to have us throw a first pitch? Obviously, Major League would be the Nationals, but I don't think that we're gonna It's much more likely that the fan side, because they're the flagship home. If the Wizards had some kind of ceremonial something to start a game, then
that would be dope.
We would be getting the call for that, obviously. But if there's a local high school wants us to come out, although I feel like the game time is tough because our show goes till 7.
And their games start at 4:30. I know Preps does.
I feel like we could get you to throw out a first pitch for Georgetown Prep. I'd catch for that.
Yeah, but it's at 4:30 though, so it would just.
Sorry, we need the day off.
Or we need a Saturday.
Sorry, CK. Anthony's got to throw out the first pitch at his alma mater, and I have to catch it.
Speaking of CK.
Oh, is he walking through?
Yeah, he was walking by.
Dang, he's there late today.
Yeah.
Boss is working.
Mm-hmm.
Love to see it. I hate it for him. I hope he gets to go home soon. I think that's what I meant to say. Anyway, it's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.